Welcome back to another episode of Aunt and Andrew, where family is everything.
Everything. Hi, Andrew.
Hi,
Until it's
Aunt.
not. I'm supposed to say until it's not.
It's okay. I knew what you meant. I love the
Tis the
shirt. Love the
season. Thanks.
roses. Little, it's just beautiful.
It's like poinsettia.
Oh, yes, of course. It
Because
blends in with the trees.
yes, I know. Well, we're celebrating this season.
Yeah, I love the wrinkle on the snow. It's a little, it's great.
Stop
Uh,
highlighting my faults and
okay.
flaws. And you know what's funny? Speaking, I'm going to get right into it. Speaking of Beverly Hills and snow, it was Kathy Hilton's Christmas
Christmas party,
party this
pajama
week.
party.
It was her Christmas party this week. And a little breaking news as we stop Beverly
It's not
Hills.
breaking news. We all know about James
Well,
Kennedy getting arrested.
James Kennedy was arrested for assaulting Allie.
He
Do you know
threw
what?
her. He picked her up and tossed her.
Is that what he
Apparently.
did? I didn't
I
read
don't
what
know.
happened, but it was
I can't
after
even
Kathy
read about
Hilton's
it.
party.
Yeah, and Nick Viall, the podcaster, the guy that was on The Bachelor, or whatever, talked
Yeah.
about it before it broke to Michael
Oh.
Rappaport, and he was saying how James was like in a very angry mood, and they couldn't like the podcast is so freaky because they didn't know he was arrested at the time when they were talking, so they were like,
Oh, so he must
Nick
be
Viall,
using again. He must be
that's what made me
drinking.
sad.
Yeah, he must be drinking.
It's
It's just
really
not good.
sad. It's like shows people like the reality, but I also have to be really selfish and say
Don't you think some of it is finding out that Vanderpump Rules is going to be recast? He was probably a little bit
maybe for sure,
depressed.
anxiety,
Yeah.
wondering what's gonna happen with his DJ stuff, all that.
Yeah, I would
Like I would
imagine.
take it as a way to like become more of just a DJ. Like I think that there was a moment when
Yeah, like Paul. Yeah, right.
Like when Jersey Shore wasn't on the air, Pauly D actually grew more because he like was
Hmm.
able to focus just on DJing
Right. And
and
not
like
on the
he
show.
just like did that. And I think like that's what I would be hoping James would do. But I will say, a little selfishly, it shows me what I could be if I relapse. Like, so it's just good reminder for me of like how dangerous substance is. Like, so
Yeah.
as much as like I would want James to stay sober, it's a good reminder for those that are as to why they should stay. I'm not
Yeah, I
saying that I
agree.
want him to be the reason why, but
All
it's
right. So on to Beverly Hills. So we
oh
wish
well, another
James.
Kathy Hilton thing, just I'll throw it out there. If you haven't watched Paris and Nicole's the encore of like their new show on Netflix.
I
I mean not on
haven't.
Netflix, on Peacock. The first episode is just worth it. They're turning their Sana Sa, their song into an
Yeah.
opera. And Kathy Hilton, they come over to see Kathy, and she hadn't seen Nicole Richie in a while. And she's so much lighter than she is on Beverly Hills, but she decides to give Paris and Nicole some creative advice on their opera. And here
Okay.
are a few of the suggestions she shared. She said that they should have a small man come in on a bicycle on stilts. That was one of them. She also
I didn't see
suggested,
this. I gotta
she
see
also
this.
suggested, I think, that they have a magician in the middle of the opera. Um, and then she also takes them to her guest house to start going through old, like to look at Paris's old things and all that.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
the funniest line she has is she pulls out this like really bad pair of like one shoe. It's a kitten heel, I think. And she just says, I have kept this shoe for 25 years because I've been looking for the other one and I just can't find it. So if you want like traditional Kathy
Ah,
Hilton, go halfway through the episode. The only sad part about it is they go back to the town in Arkansas where there's that iconic scene where Paris and Nicole say, um, Nicole goes, I heard people hang out in Walmart. This is like 20 years ago when they were on Simple Life. And then Paris goes, what's Walmart? Do they have wall things there? And that family that they stayed with didn't want to be on camera 20 years later. So then they show Paris and Nicole after going, they didn't want to be on camera, but we had a lovely visit with them. And then their other boss when they were in Arkansas that owned like the
you've
fishing
lost our
store.
viewers. I
No,
want you
no,
to
no. They
know.
all love this shit. The other boss that they had that owned the fishing store,
Yeah,
who's kind of a little neurodivergent,
I
special
never
needs,
watched The
special,
Simple
whatever you
Life.
want to call him, whatever buzzwords going through your head.
Okay,
He's
a
one of
spectrum.
those. He's on the spectrum, whatever you want to say. And he when he found out they were mothers now and that they
Oh,
own businesses, he started crying and he goes, I am so proud of you guys. I am just so
all right. But how? I mean, if we're talking about Kathy Hilton, I mean, Paris had a baby And she didn't know her mother, Kathy didn't know she had a baby till she brought the baby.
Well, because I think she was this is what they all do. I mean, Kylie Jenner doesn't leave her house. How do you think she goes? She probably has underground tunnels.
I mean, but so Paris didn't have the child. She physically didn't have a baby. It must
I
have
would
been a
assume not.
surrogate.
Have you seen her body?
I'm going to assume it was a surrogate who had a child for her, because how could you not notice unless you never see your mother?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyways, let's talk about Beverly Hills,
It is
please.
possible to have a baby and look like to have very little, like. I mean, I think your mother, you'd assume, would be the one that would know. Like, I'd like to say that your daughter, like, transformed herself back so quickly, but you, as her mother, that was there the day, like, you know it all, like, you saw it all. So it's like, mother, I get what you're saying. Like, cousin that doesn't see right before, doesn't see for
I
like a week
can't
or so
imagine if
after.
your own mother
Yeah, that's what I'm
wouldn't
saying.
know
Yeah,
you had a
you're
baby. So
right.
that's why
You're
I'm
right.
assuming that Nicole's was
Can we talk about how
I'm sorry,
Bose
Paris.
Can we talk about how Bose, how smart she is? Like she gets
Yeah,
it.
she's very
That
yeah.
that soundbite, like I don't want to skip ahead, but when she dissects Kyle and Dorit, when
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "There's a rock, and then under the rock, there's this,
Yeah.
and then there's a
Yeah.
toad sitting on the rock," and then
Right.
she's like, "I love how she's then like, you have to know everything this girl's, but I'm not afraid." Like I love her.
Yeah. Well,
She's a great
because
addition.
she's a true self-made
She's a boss.
gal.
She's
Yeah.
had to fire
Yeah.
people. She's had to hire, like, she's had to do everything under the sun. So,
Right.
like, a fight with Dorit, Kyle, Garcelle, Sutton doesn't really matter. Doesn't really
Well, I
matter.
mean, let's analyze who's a boss on this show.
Okay.
Kyle, a little of it.
She's
She
a boss
hasn't.
with she's a boss with people outside of her orbit.
No, listen, she didn't make all of her success on her own. Sutton's money is not because of her own.
No, but I have to
Um,
say Sutton's a boss in divorce.
okay, no, 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 no,
Because
no,
she
no,
got
no.
a lot
Don't
of money.
confuse the
She
two.
got a lot of money in it,
Boz,
and she hasn't lost it. Bose. Like the
Bose.
headphones.
Okay, Bose made her money.
Okay.
She's a boss. Bose. Kathy Hilton's money is Hilton money.
Yeah.
Kyle has Mauricio's money. Let's face it, that's where her real money comes from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Erica Jane doesn't have any right now, but when she
But
did,
she
it
could
was
be self-made
Tom's.
soon.
Right, but it was
It's
Tom's.
not going to be Bo's
Um,
money.
Sutton, self-made. Jennifer Tilly, we found out. I'm sorry, Sutton, not self-made.
No, no.
Tilly, well, she had a career, but her extra money comes from the guy. I'm gonna
And
say,
poker. And poker.
and poker. Out of them all, Garcelle's a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's made it on her own.
And I did you resonate with Garcelle on the boat?
With what?
When she said like what's next for me? Like
Oh
just
yeah,
knowing
totally. I totally
I
got
saw
that.
you there. I saw
Yeah,
you there because I know you're in that space like with doing
yeah,
this and doing your
yeah.
other podcast and like
Right.
you and your husband both are like very much have your own interests and you do your own
Yeah,
thing,
we're
which
completely
is so
separate.
rare
Right.
because a lot of people like get I'm not well, you know what? He don't listen to this, so I'll say it. My dad's recently retired and like he's having a severe, I mean, I don't even think he's noticed it yet. Severe identity crisis. Like and makes total sense. He's worked in corporate America his whole like life basically at
Yeah,
this point.
right.
And like when you're a mom and you have multiple kids and they're stretched out, like no wonder why my mother is still working 3 days a week when she should retire is because I don't think she knows what she's gonna do when she does when you have everyone out and gone
Right.
and you have dove head first into finding things that make you happy, things that you
Yeah.
like. And I
Right.
can see why Garcelle, where it's like she's always been a working mom, but then her kids are also like they're out of the house, but they're not out of her life. And it's
No,
like
of
it's
course, your
hard
kids are
to
never
be
out of your life, but they just don't become your daily
exactly,
focus.
exactly,
You
exactly.
do, when your kids are younger and this before they go to college, I would say college slowly transitions that.
Yeah.
They're the epicenter. They're the axis on which the earth turns.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the earth is moved on to something else in life, you're like, oh, what am I left doing here? Because you put so much energy into it. So you have to find something else to do. But Garcelle has all these projects. I'm not worried about Garcelle. More
Dorit's annoying me.
Kyle, though, because Garcelle, I don't believe, has ever been as obsessed with her kids or at least she's much more natural about it. Whereas Kyle was always on the phone with Mauricio. Now you got to make sure you straighten Portia's hair and
Yeah.
you feed the dogs, and this one needs a walk, and what's for
Well,
dinner.
Garcelle also has boys.
Yeah, that's the difference between boys and girls.
Yeah, like
Totally.
Garcelle, but I also think Garcelle,
Boys
I
are
think, and
less
we saw this
maintenance.
last season. I think Garcelle, I think Garcelle, I think that she was complacent with having boys because her son, the one that complained about, how she's not there as much, it just shows also that some boys need a little bit more mom versus
Yeah,
her other two sons didn't. But then again, her
right.
oldest maybe did need a little more mom. Look at him. He's making out with people, doing this, doing that.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
like Kyle's always been super like hands-on with her kids because she's really needed to as girls. So it's very interesting to see. I will say Dorit, you filmed the whole season, so it doesn't really matter. You're insane. Like it's too much. I mean,
It's too
Kyle,
much.
she's right about some things. I think Kyle has a little bit of Teresa syndrome in her, where Teresa will like it's just what Teresa gets upset about. If she does it, it's not as big of a deal. And Kyle kind of has that too.
Oh, right, exactly.
And I think the difference here is that like I think Teresa also, even though you could tell she'd get mad at people, she did also get more mad at Melissa than anyone. And that makes sense because that's her sister-in-law. And so in a
Of
way, I
course.
actually think that Dorit's point of like how or Kyle's point of how they were close and Dorit's point of how they were close, like is true. You were close. Can we just call it what it was? They were close. Clearly their husbands are not just becoming close now because they were on a show together. It's because
No.
they got close off camera. They did things together off camera. They were very close. We all saw that for years, to a point where Dorit was Kyle's like soldier for years. So like
Mm-hmm.
we've watched it and it just looks like two siblings that can't move past. But I do see Dorit's point about how like she does one little thing and Kyle just like has a big problem. And I think that Kyle actually is closer with Dorit than she gives herself credit for, or like their friendship credit
Agreed.
for. And I think that there's a reason why she looks at the Faye Resnicks of the world and the Linda Thompsons and the Kris Jenners and the Taylor Armstrongs and the Teddy Mellencamp's and that whole like inner circle of friends that they've had for years in Beverly Hills differently than Dorit. And that's because for 7, 8 months of the year, she's not filming with those people. And there isn't this like microscope looking over their friendships, picking apart every little thing that goes wrong. And so
Right.
I just think Kyle needs to put it in perspective. Like, would you be as close with Jamie Lee Curtis as you are if you were with her for 7 or 8 months filming? No, you'd be bound to find something that would piss you off.
True. And not only that, though, Kyle and Dorit are friends because of the show.
Yes.
She's friends with Faye and Kris Jenner and all of that because they all, and remember, she's never
Because of
going to,
OJ. No, just
because of
kidding.
OJ. It's that simple. They went through this collective bonding trauma.
Yep.
Trauma will cause you to bond in a different way. And
Before the reality TV cameras for both the
mhm,
Kardashians and the
right.
Richards family.
Before
Like,
any of them were a
before
household
Paris,
name.
before any of them. Like Kyle
Right.
was actually the most famous in that group just because of her child star stuff.
Yeah.
But fame was different. I've talked to you about this that like I do some work with Jaleel White, who was the Steve Urkel, and how he says that when he was on Family Matters, he was epic, like ultra star. But that was because like media was different. Now you can be on TikTok, you can be on reality, you can be on scripted, you can be a movie person, you can be music, you can be
You can
a
have a
comedian, you can have a
podcast.
podcast, you can do all these different things. And you're famous in your
True.
tribes and your circles and the circles
Hmm.
of those fan bases. Whereas, like back in the day, people were more loyal. There was less leaking to the press. It was
Oh,
like
yeah.
just the paparazzi. That was
There
it.
wasn't this all day long,
No.
Toot, 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 toot,
Yep.
toot, toot.
Exactly.
Totally, without a doubt. I do think that Kyle gets away with a lot.
She does.
She does. For
She
whatever
does.
reason, she is sort of the queen of OC. I mean, Beverly Hills. Let's
Yep.
face it. Because Lisa's gone. If Lisa came back in tomorrow, she'd be back to just being a foot soldier again. Sorry. That's the problem. Kyle is the queen of Beverly Hills, but if Pump came back in, oh yeah,
Well,
totally.
I don't think at this point
No,
Kyle would
even
be
at this
fighting with her. They wouldn't
no,
be
I
able to be
understand
friends.
that and everything, but, she doesn't have that same aura and, like, own it that Pump did. Pump
No, you're
brought
right.
something Lisa Vanderpump brought something to the show that it hasn't been able to, get back.
I think that Lisa Vanderpump didn't open up. I think that people think that Lisa Vanderpump is being authentic and real. And I hate to say this, I don't know if she's ever really been authentic and real on television.
Well, nobody is.
I think some of them lately have been given no choice. How can Kyle not be real when she's going through the divorce she's going through? How can
No,
Dorit
I
not be
understand
real?
that. And did you notice? Oh, see, you wouldn't notice it because you're a guy. On every show now, they're having like one obligatory, it seems, scene with they don't have makeup on.
Oh yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, so much more. You're seeing it with Erica, you're seeing it with Dorit. They're in bed, you know what I mean? They're like cuddling up in the morning. You're seeing it on a lot of shows. It seems like they're trying to strip it down because I mean the
Totally.
glam is off the chart. I thought to myself, I wonder how much they audition their glam. Like,
Oh
what's the
yeah.
process of getting glam? I'm curious.
I bet that there's like a secret housewife chain of like good glam people. Like that there's a network of glam people that like work
Without a
together.
doubt. I mean, like, Kathy Hilton has great, and you notice you're not going to see Kathy Hilton without glam. I mean,
Never.
she's on full face. Now, you might see her with the IV and the lips and everything, but it's all very contrived, and you're
I
never
loved
going to
Kathy in the
see.
Sprinter van when she goes, I think I need new
I
friends.
think you do too, Kathy,
I don't think
because,
these are your friends, Kathy.
well, not only that, though, but I kept on thinking, you're Kathy Hilton. I saw your house and everything. Really doesn't belong with these women. And
I
that's
can't
when
wait for you to see our guest house on Paris and Nicole. You're gonna laugh so hard.
Albert, I
It
just
looks
want to
like your
say,
basement. Like that's what I'm
oh,
saying. Kathy Hilton's one of us. She's got a house, not a
she's
closet.
one of us. Oh
Well, you have a
God.
second house to put all your stuff in too. That's what I'm saying. She's kind of like you in a way. You guys could be comparable, but she really does. It's a disaster, but it's her organized disaster.
Oh, is she a hoarder?
She just has a lot of stuff,
Yeah, it's hard. They all
and I
do.
come from a family with a lot of
A
stuff.
lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff. You know, I can relate when the housewives are like in their bedrooms and they have racks of clothes because I know
Oh,
someone who had racks of clothes in empty
in her
bedrooms.
office and this and like,
And my mother had
oh,
racks. You'd think it was
how many pieces of jewelry, real and fake, do you think she had when you went
um,
through her stuff?
tens of thousands.
It's like insane, and that's
No,
Kathy.
no, the question should be how many pairs of black capris did my mother have? And
Yeah,
that was almost 100. I
that's
mean,
so
that's all
funny.
you need to know. We come from hoarders. It's not really
Yeah,
hoarders because we're not messy. We just
no.
got a lot of stuff.
That was the thing that I thought was so fascinating when my
Oh,
parents
that's
sold their house and
interesting.
downsized was I was like, wait, like your storage closet downstairs looks awfully like the one in the old house, just smaller. What'd you do with everything? And then like I'm waiting for my mom to be like, oh, I just tossed it out. And it's like, well, no,
No, your mom
I had
doesn't
to
toss
do
out
this. Like,
anything.
and I don't know
No,
where she put it, but I can tell you this
we just find a spot.
somewhere over the rainbow.
I
Well,
still have boxes of stuff when I cleaned out my mother's condo in Florida. I mean, like it's still, I haven't opened it.
oh, we could do
I
that
don't
with
know what's
a
in there.
special podcast. What's in the box?
Let me tell
Bab's
you,
box.
I love a Moki.
What's a Moki?
A Moki are those electric little cute cars that they
Oh yeah,
drive
yeah,
around
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
beach. I do. That's
They
my
had them on New
dream.
York this week too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is nothing like a good Moki. I've been
Yeah.
in a Moki in Palm Beach. Anyways, um, do you think it's weird that PK keeps in contact with Kyle? I
I think
don't.
it's weird if Dorit wasn't friends with Kyle. Like that's where I think this whole thing is like kind of odd. It's like Dorit, you weren't friends with Kyle, but yet your ex-husband's hanging out with her ex-husband and he's texting Kyle. That is not someone that wasn't close.
So here's the question. How would Kyle feel if Mauricio was texting Dorit?
I would hope that both of them would be okay with it and know like what's the context of the text? Because that's what I wanted to know. We said PK texts Kyle, but what is he
No, she
texting her
said
about?
he reaches out to me.
But what is he reaching out to her about? Because this is my question: is Dorit leaving Sutton's party, and then the next day when she's like
Yeah,
taking
you're
Jagger and her
wondering.
daughter to the park, and PK's there, and is she then venting to PK about what
Well,
happened at the
don't no,
party?
don't bring up the park because according to Jeff Lewis, his nanny has never seen Dorit at the park with her children.
But that was an
I
example.
just
My
want to
point
tell
is
you,
that PK and Dorit are doing
don't bring
something with
up the
their kids.
park.
They go to play, and then is Dorit telling PK what happened on while filming? And then is PK reaching out to Kyle being like,
What
sorry that
really
Dorit's
happened?
doing that to you or something
No,
like
I think
that?
it's more like he knows. Listen, Dorit is lashing out at Kyle because she doesn't want to lash out at PK. But
Okay.
they're not getting back together. PK and Dorit are done.
I actually think Mauricio and Kyle have a much better shot. You and I have talked
Much
about
better.
this.
Much better. They asked that on Watch What Happens Live this week.
Yeah.
And whoever it was said
Sutton.
neither. She said neither.
Yeah, or Jeremiah Brent said nothing. It said neither. It was him.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
will say Sutton, just to bring up Watch What Happens Live, Sutton Strack, I don't know if it's Avi, I don't know if it's medication, but you look amazing.
Sutton
You
looks
looked
good.
so healthy on Watch What Happens Live. And what I
Hmm.
mean by that is you just looked so bright and so happy and so in your thoughts and strong in your convictions. What you said about Mary Cosby was so incredibly real and kind. And I really think that like if housewives want to learn how to get a continuous housewives check and continuously get employed, that was a masterclass because you could tell in Andy's eyes
Yeah,
that like
he
what he has
appreciated that
envisioned
she
for the
noticed.
housewives,
Right.
past all the drama, past all the
Was
fighting, past all
this.
is just this idea of, and maybe it's a little annoying because it's again, Sutton, you've proved your point. Please don't do it again. But sisterhood is real, and it's something that a number of these women really believe in, and it's why I don't. It's why I like Dorinda a lot. I feel like she has that. As much as I don't like her that much, I do believe Margaret Josephs has that across franchises. I think that
I hate
there's a
Margaret
few
Joseph.
other, I do too, but I think Gina has that on OC. They talk about other women from other franchises and they're constantly complimenting them. And I will say that, like, I just think that Sutton is very observant for saying that Mary right now is the definition of what a housewife is. I don't know if you saw the preview yet for Salt Lake for next week, but seeing Mary walk in to see Angie in the house is so real when it comes to
Okay.
joy. Like there's just joy
Right.
that is coming from some of these women. And I think that's the biggest challenge that Bravo has moving forward with all the franchises is that you have to pick whether or not you're going to be having casts of women that are happy to be there, grateful to be there, and they're batshit crazy and they cause fights, and that's great. But
Right.
these people that there's energy that sucks the life out of some of these casts. We've seen it over the course of it.
Oh,
It's like
yeah, without a doubt.
or 80% of the New York
Without a
cast is
doubt.
like this.
Yes. New
You have to
York,
get those
right.
people out.
Out.
That's the mess.
There's no
That's
one in
the
Beverly Hills that is toxic right now.
Dorit is on the fringe, in my opinion.
She's on the fringe, but we have enough history with
She
her.
got mad at Sutton and she shouldn't have got mad at Sutton because I saw from Sutton, like Sutton was trying
Do
to
you think she could be self-medicating in a weird way?
yeah, or she's just getting bad advice of like, Kyle has manipulated you for years. Time's up. And it doesn't matter if Kyle's also changed a little and humbled out through her divorce. Dorit is not going to humor that. And so it's like, that's where I sit back and I'm like, whoever gave you the advice that you should be coming like all claws and fangs at Kyle missed
Mm,
one little like tiny piece of advice, which was, but don't be, you and I talk about feuds and disputes and stuff. We're talking about it from the lens in our own lives about like people that don't change. When someone else changes too, you do have to be observant of that. So Kyle, I believe, has gotten softer and humbled out and been more vulnerable through her own divorce. Dorit has not taken that into consideration. She's just judging Kyle on like her me and Mo, Ice Princess, I'm going to tag you along, Dorit. But Kyle hasn't been that person for like a year. And Kyle, what she needs to say is, Dorit, that text that I sent you before the reunion, I can see how you took it as me manipulating you. What I failed to tell you when I sent that text was this is coming because I'm broken inside and I'm not ready to talk about it. It's not about you. You just know a lot more than the others. And I'm asking you if you can just not bring it out because I'm not ready to address it to the world yet. Like, I'd appreciate that versus making her seem like she can't talk about something that you guys had a conversation about. So that's just my thought. Why are you laughing?
okay.
I'm being to the point. I'm not blabbing and I'm being very much there. Why don't you pay attention, please?
Please. This podcast was brought to you by Andrew.
You're well, you know what? Last week is brought to you by Aunt. So at least we're rotating. We're like a good tire.
I will say that Kathy Hilton throws a good trip. And for the most part, I think this is nice to go like a little way away.
What did you
Like
think
it,
about Captain Theo?
I thought he was gay, was my first thought.
I just didn't think he was too short.
And I didn't get the look. You know what I want to say about Sutton when you were talking about her, which I think is refreshing.
Yeah.
And I know she's not going to hear this, but I wish others would take this. Sutton hasn't had a lot of work done.
No.
She doesn't have breast enhancement. She's not all enhanced. She's she's got some Botox and stuff, but her lips aren't all filled and she's not overdone, so to speak. And I mean, if you look at pictures of Kyle when this show started, she looks like a different person. She's
Mm.
had some great plastic surgery. I think she looks better, but she's gone a little bit like overboard. Not overboard, but she's had a
Yeah.
lot of work done, you know? And I like that Sutton is thin and she doesn't have big massive boobs sticking out of her and all that stuff. I think there's a I think I think she's very natural for a $300,000 a month alimony paycheck. It's a housewife.
I think you also see that like she's settled in as a housewife. I think for the first like
Yes. Yes, I believe
three,
she
four
has.
seasons of Sutton being on the show,
Mhm.
she was trying to find her place.
Who she is, right.
I think she knew who she was. I think she was trying to fit who she was into this show. And instead, I think now she's fit the show into who she is. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like she's found that she can just be herself. And now she's great on the show. Whereas before, I feel like she was trying to fit into a spot. And you're not going to fit into a spot, especially on Beverly Hills. But on most of these franchises, you're never going to. You have to be yourself and see how it
No,
sticks.
I think a lot of it is because her kids have become adults. I'm gonna tell you something weird
Maybe.
happens when your
Maybe,
kids become adults,
But Bose walks on the show with her kid who's still not fully an
but
adult
she's
yet.
already a boss.
She is a boss, but I think that she knew going in, I'm gonna
She's
let the
not
show
like
fit
these
into
other
me.
women. She
Well,
is
you
not
compare Bose to
like
Rebecca Minkoff. Rebecca Minkoff wanted to try to fit into the show, and we haven't seen her open up at all.
right.
Bose was like, the show's gonna fit into me, and she's
This
just
is
that herself.
actually the only show, maybe New York, Bose could fit into.
Maybe. No.
Um, well, not with these people,
Yeah,
not for
not they're
sure. I
too
meant
young. They're too young.
the other. This is the only franchise she would fit into.
I think that Bose would actually do okay in Salt Lake City. I think that if you have a good housewife personality, you can fit in Salt Lake City because they're all so different and they're all so whacked
I
that
love
like
Salt Lake. Yeah,
I do
I
too.
do.
Do you hear Britney's
What did
Christmas
you think
music?
of Sutton and her sorority ceremony? Because that's what it was to me.
Yeah, it was
I
good.
went
I
away
think she needs
wondering
to.
what she
I
was.
hope that she got
Like,
her.
was she Kappa Kappa Gamma or
Well, I hope
Theta
that Sutton
Chi or
has got
what?
it out of her system. She's had a few ceremonies. She had Merce. She had the
Immerse the
Sisterhood.
burst.
She had to give her opening monologue on Watch What Happens Live, treating it like it's SNL. And I just hope that, Sutton, we see you now. We see you for who you are,
And Erica didn't have a lot in this episode, but she gave the most valuable advice
which was what?
to Boz.
Bose, like the
Oh,
headphones.
Bose. I said Bose. You told me Boz.
No, 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 no. You keep saying Boz.
I think it's Boz. It's like Boz Skaggs.
It's
Boz
Bozema. It's
Skaggs.
Bozemo St. John is her name. Bose. It's Bose.
Bose. Oh, so I have to say Bozema.
Or you could just say Bose, like the headphones. Bose? Bose headphones.
Bose. But you know what's confusing me? There's a singer called Boz Skaggs,
Okay, but
and
how's
he
that
spells
confusing
it
you?
B-O-Z, and they're saying B-O-Z. So that's why I'm confused.
Well, you
Okay,
know what? There's a little thing that crawls on
Bozema.
the ground called an ant. Should I call you that instead of aunt?
Well, some people do call
Yeah,
their
I know, and
aunts
I hate it.
ants. Okay, I'm sorry. What was I saying? I forget now.
Oh no, you ever seen that horse that looks damaged? It's called We Beat That Horse Dead. We've beaten this show
Why
dead.
was well, I just want to say, I know we did beat this, whatever it wasn't important, but Dorit did lose it.
She did, and she lost it on Sutton. And I think like, yes, it's opening up because Sutton was so kind to Dorit on the boat.
I know. I know. This was what I don't understand. Yeah.
And I just think that there's a huge elephant in the room. The only tension that I really see, true tension that's not hurt, that's real tension, is Garcelle and Dorit. It's tension.
Oh, yes, there is.
And
Yeah.
Garcelle, I give you so much credit. You can tell how much you're controlling what you want to say. She just looks like she's there and she's taking no prisoners. Garcelle is like,
Yeah,
nope.
but you know what? I didn't think that Dorit meant anything last year. I
No,
really didn't.
but I do believe that
And for
Dorit,
Garcelle to hold on to it,
I think it's because there is this common thread around all Housewives franchises when they have to say, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
but.
but
And I think that it's quick. I mean, it's a big thing in business right now is instead of saying like no, but it should be yes, and. And this idea where you can use and as the same way as but. Like you can say,
oh,
I'm sorry, and you
and
also made me feel this way instead of I'm sorry, but
oh, so we
you,
need to make
because
it
but is a
and.
negative. But means that like
Yeah,
I'm telling you something, but you did something worse,
yeah.
whereas and is equal. And so I
Hmm.
do it all the time. I can see where Garcelle doesn't like that
So
Dorit
you can
just
say, yes, you were late. So you were late for my party and you missed the best part.
yes, versus like you got here and you were on time, but you missed the best part. Or you
Yeah.
got here eventually, but you missed the best part. It'd be like you
Or
were
just
late.
as and. I like
Yeah.
that. I'm going to
Yeah.
start adding
It's
and.
more positive and it's something where I think Dorit uses but way too much.
Who's your mess? Because we beat
Dorit, it
this.
has to be. I don't
Dorit,
know.
Dorit.
I hope it
Dorit,
doesn't
Dorit, Dorit.
continue
I
because
hope
I
not
do
either.
like that Dorit is talking to Kyle the way she is, standing up for herself. But I also believe Kyle has gone like this a number of times. Like, you got me. And I don't think we're dealing with Kyle Richards here.
Mm,
We already explained who her friends are, the circles she's in. Like, she's also going through divorce. She's like, this is the most acknowledgement of fault you're going to get, Dorit.
that's
Take
it.
it for what it is.
Right. She's also, they're all narcissists. Let's not forget.
Yeah. Well,
Do we
anyway.
going to say who our mess was?
I did Dorit.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Okay. All right.
I missed
Follow
that. I
us,
zoned out.
subscribe us, comment us. Love you guys.